us. And then with that, oh wow, it'll take a moment to build another module. What can you do for research? We're sitting on a crystal again.
Actually, hold on. I
Oh,
already clicked the door. Oh, there's one in here too.
Awesome. There you go. Take a look at it. I'm researching. I'm researching this module down there, so that works out just fine.
Oh, Autodoc Shard 2. Yep.
I'm gonna bring power up here because it looks to me like we can still expect
stuff to happen
this way.
Actually, hold on a second. I'm gonna. Is there any more threat to? Oh man, we powered up everything down there. All right, I'm moving Elise.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring her up here to protect these things. Okay, she's coming to the room we're in now, so we can move on. Actually, let's put some Predator prods in here.
Yeah, you've got most of our really good offensive modules right now. I've kind of been letting you handle the research. All right.
Okay.
One left.
Nope. Not much in there.
Yep. Something got hit by an electromagnetic pulse. Is that the way it's going to be? Is it going to be one of those things? Hang on. Oop. We got monsters. Let's fight. You have no power here.
Okay, what do we got down here? Testicle HUD 2, Just Field Gen, Subblaster, and Neurostun.
Neurostun.
That looks like it's got some use.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, especially in hallways or areas.
Good for crystal runs.
Yep. You know what? And there it is.
The questionable banquet room.
Here we go. It's fight night. Smack, 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 smack.
Let's fight. Them's fighting words.
Meantime, the Draken is just like, I've been sitting here operating this module all day. I hear fighting, but I don't see fighting.
Okay, we don't really need operators to operate anymore.
We do not.
So, it's time to secure our exit.
Alright, now we have been fighting some major monstrosities. We're going to be going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rooms worth of combat. We know from the last time that it's very easy for them to throw stuff that's going to catch up with us. I'm going to move Scrog. The room just east of the Science Creator. Could you throw down just a handful of cheap defensive modules there?
Yeah, I'll fill that place with prods.
Okay, I'm gonna...
And I'm thinking... Actually, we probably don't need to be right here. I'm gonna cover this far room.
Go ahead and go that way. I'm gonna have Scroig sit here in the major chamber just in case we get a swarm of guys coming up from the bottom.
Yeah, plus we've got all the guns in there too.
Yep.
I think we're set.
Let's go, let's do it. Derp, 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 derp. Looks like everything's gonna start by spawning up top.
Alright, you don't really need Scroig in there anymore. Bring him up so he doesn't get zerged himself.
Yep. It's kinda just looking up there, see what we're dealing with.
I think this is the easiest crystal run we've had. Nothing's touched us.
Maybe they don't spawn in rooms that have light in them, even at this phase.
Craziness.
Alright. Well, let's sit here and watch how many of these things die. It's stat padding time.
Yep.
Run my mouth for a little bit longer. So it was a really cool game. As I said, you know, it's Ben, Bert, Jamie, myself, homemade science fiction I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I was using the Savage World science fiction stuff. So we got to have a lot of cool misadventures. We were just coming up on what I would basically say was the end portion of the third act of the campaign being designed in about 4 acts worth of content. Lost my server connection. Been kicked from the game.
I can't exit the level.
And, I can't join the thing again. Oh no.
Well, you know what? It's 6 o'clock anyways.
Ah, such a shitty note to go out on, though.
I know it is. It totally is.
Oh my god, that's so lame. Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do to recover this.
Alright. Oh, fuck it. Let me just kill my monologue here, then. Anyway, so we had a lot of fun with it. And the character that Ben was playing was interesting, too. I don't remember if I've told you anything about this. He's basically playing alien species called Helvetian. They're the series' closest thing to a near-human alien. They're these weird, kind of gray-skinned, misjointed humanoids with Jacob's organ centered on their forehead. So they also kind of fill the role of quote-unquote Cyclops, so they're more of a three-eyed organism than anything else. He's basically playing this college professor who got capped by the series quote-unquote is, its federation, so to speak, called the Magistracy. And he ended up, he really took charge of that campaign. It was an extreme pleasure to actually be able to work with him because he was able to generate so much content for me. It really was, there was a great synergy between he and I as a player and GM. There's a lot of stuff I was able to do because he was very proactive in how the story was told. We couldn't, for the life of him, figure out a name for his character. So of all things he did, he ended up making a character with the last name Manley. So it was just Professor Manley, and then later it was Captain Manley as he got moved into a more official ship organizing and armada perspective. And this was actually an homage to an individual we watch on YouTube who also does a lot of video game streams, a guy by the name of Scott Manley. And I'm not sure if you've heard of him or not, but
nope.
If you're a Kerbal Space Program fan, or if you've ever played and really enjoyed Xenonauts, or, Willie, bring it down, any kind of science fiction, he does just an amazing job with it. And Kerbal Space Program is the big thing that he does all sorts of mods. He's currently in the middle of playing the big intergalactic mod. He's been doing it for damn near a year, if not more than a year now. But I actually, if you're a fan of Kerbal Space Program, or if you've been looking into games like Elite, I think it's called. It's kind of like a StarCraft simulator game that's currently in beta development. It's also a really good one. I definitely check his channel out and just it's a free plug for him since this is
I'm not big on Kerbal Space Program, but I have been playing one of those sort of village survival games with a sci-fi spin to it called RimWorld.
Interesting.
Which is basically imagine the Dwarf Fortress concept, except that you're it combined Dwarf Fortress with this game here in the sense that you're people who crashed on an escape pod and crashed on a planet and have to survive. But you survive by crafting yourself a place to live and going Dwarf Fortress style.
You should send me a link with that in it. Actually, it sounds pretty cool.
It's excellent. I've got a playlist on the channel you can take a look at actually, and the game itself I think is $30.
Okay, well I don't have any money right now, unfortunately.
Yeah. Actually, if you look at the videos, I always put a link to the game's official site on all my videos descriptions.
Okay.
So it's right there.
Smart way to do it.
It's highly recommended.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. I mean, do you play Xenonauts at all?
I have not, actually. Isn't that sort of XCOM-y type thing?
It's actually, it's
Vaguely?
another XCOM clone, but it's really, really, really good. Honestly,
I haven't tried it, but I know of it. So maybe I will try it one of these days.
It comes very recommended. Also, for Firaxis' XCOM, Enemy Within, I would highly suggest picking up the Long War mod. That
Okay.
is an amazing mod for the game. It completely ruined my ability to play the standard enemy within on anything. It's so good.
Nice.
They,
Oh,
they almost completely transformed the game with how they go about it.
that's interesting. Actually, I'll check that out too. But
Yeah, the Xenonauts.
speaking of RimWorld, there, have you seen Prison Architect? Actually,
You know what? I was kind of watching that back at the time when it was like way in early development. I'm waiting for it to release in full
yeah.
because it's one of
It
those games.
RimWorld has a very similar art and animation style,
Interesting.
but it's actually colonizing a planet and trying to survive after your escape pod crashes someplace.
Nice, nice. But yeah, no. So I mean, Xenonauts, Scott Manley, check his channel out at some point. He does amazing stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Englishman. He's got a really cool accent. If that's your kind of thing. Very eloquent.
Accents are fun.
I understand that he's actually a scientist, or he has a very firm grasp of a lot of scientific concepts. So when you're watching him play Kerbal Space Program, he does an amazing job of actually explaining how everything works in the game in terms of like how it would actually relate to real life. So, I mean, it's definitely a cool game. He's definitely a cool dude.
Nice.
He's got his Xenonauts thing that he's been doing. I'd check that out. It's really good.
Yeah, link me to him later in case I forget his name.
Yeah, definitely.
But speaking of accents, there's the one guy I watch a lot. Actually, he plays Kerbal Space Program sometimes, so I have a bit of a feel as to how that game goes. But he does a lot of other stuff I watch too. Is this Irish guy called Jacksepticeye? He's a crazy bastard, but he's pretty fun to watch. He's one of those silly, loud, crazy shouting type YouTubers.
Yeah, you know what? That doesn't always actually appeal to me.
I agree that it doesn't always appeal, but this guy does it well. He's genuinely funny, and he's a really good dude. Actually, him and Markiplier are both really entertaining, genuine guys.
Okay, I'm going to take a look at it then.
Those two were some of my biggest inspirations for starting my own channel, actually, because they looked like they were just having a ton of fun, meeting cool people, playing fun games with people, and I was like, yeah, I want to do that.
Cool. Well, glad to hear you guys got back to your Scion game. Sorry, I can't rejoin you.
Well, perhaps for now. Never say never necessarily, but
not much as I'd like to. But I mean, again, it was one of those things. Kind of tried breaking the ice with Hans after fucking a year or so of not talking to him, and for a moment it was going good. But then we started talking about the results of the Democratic election.
Oh, there's your problem right there. There's your problem right there.
But see, no, it's cool because he and I were actually on the same page as far as like the consequences of how the election went. It was very interesting to observe.
Yeah, but
what
the thing
I did
is,
was I started saying what I found interesting was that you had a lot of the politicians who just didn't get anywhere as far as the Democrats. It was like the worst election for them in like 90 years. Like they have not been hammered this badly in damn near a century. But at the same token, so many states, voted on all these actually really progressive measures. You had marijuana end up getting legalized in like 2 or 3 more states. You had conservative states like it was either Arkansas or Alabama, like jacked up their minimum wage. A lot of really cool stuff happened. And so I'm like, yeah, and I went on to say, I was trying to explain to him, I'm like, yeah, what we're seeing here is a rise of the liberal libertarian mindset, which is to say, when you talk about politics, most people think of it as just like this line where you're left or you're right, and it's not. It's much more like a grid. You've got, left and right as far as, how you view things. I want to say,
there's a whole
economically,
spectrum.
And then, authoritarian or authoritarian and libertarian. You know the spectrum. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's what I was referencing. And he gets in my face and tries to lecture me, but no, it's like there's absolutely no way you can use those two terms at the same time.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Like, dude,
let me stop you there for a second, though.
Talk at me
Hold
and
on.
lecture me about politics, because this is what I research. This
Yeah.
is what I study. This is what I do. I have been in Washington running campaigns with local senators and shit. I mean, I
Okay,
am a
yeah.
politically active individual.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah, sorry, kind of ranting here.
No, I mean, that's fine. But honestly, can I give you some advice?
Sure, what's up?
Never talk politics with Hans ever again. Period.
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at. It's just...
I mean, you guys have the personality clash happening now and then, and honestly, no matter how smoothly a politics talk is going to go, no matter how much you start to agree on, talking politics with a person that you clash with, just personality level-wise, is dancing in a minefield no matter how well it's going, so...
See, that's the thing, is I don't actually see it as a personality clash. It's,
Well, it's more than that. That's just one factor with you guys, I think.
Maybe a bit.
I think the two of you just both have personalities that will eventually step on each other's toes, no matter what you do.
Oh, definitely.
So therefore, you should stay out of the minefields of political and talk, and probably also religious talk. It's because that's another one of those minefields.
Well, no, actually, he and I mostly get along as far as that stuff goes. That's because
with you two, then just avoid the politics talk, just totally and completely.
Yeah, honestly,
it's inevitable. It's a minefield. You're dancing in a minefield. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take. Eventually, you're going to hit some mines.
It's one of those things where it's like, if I was to continue doing anything with him, it would just have to be at the purely mechanical, hey, let's get together and play games level.
Exactly. You notice I don't tend to engage in political talk with anybody online, really.
Fuck it. Again, that's what I do. It's what I've made a partial living out of.
Yeah, I know.
In myself.
Well, just avoid it with Hans, then, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I guess
feel free to chat with it with your other friends, but just not with Hans, because it doesn't go well with you guys.
Well, he doesn't like the fact that, I mean, I get nasty with them, and the reason I do is because I guess the simplest and brutalest way to put it is I don't suffer fools. I don't like it when people who don't know what they're talking about come to me and try to convince me that they're experts at stuff that I can tell in 3 freaking minutes. They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So just avoid that. Just avoid that entirely, and let that whole topic go when you're talking to him.
Yeah, as I said, I think at this point, if there was any resumed communication between he and I, it would just be, hey, is it time to play a game? Okay, let's play games. Because,
exactly.
I want to treat him with the respect he believes he deserves. I want to be able to go, okay, you're an intelligent individual, you are a politically active individual, politics is something that has to be spoken about. I'm very much of the opinion that Socrates was right. You have to be able to get people who don't agree to sit down and talk in public. You have to be able to approach these issues, because if everybody just keeps their head in the sand, nothing changes. And that's the thing, is that the way that, any given democracy system is set up, things can change. Things can change actually very, very significantly, very powerfully, and if you're using the right tools in a very rapid amount of time. And that was one of the things that I just couldn't stand about Occupy Wall Street. I mean, as much as I supported what they were after, it didn't take...
It was not the right tool.
Well, it's that they didn't understand what they were trying to do. And I know that people who supported that hated hearing that and believed that it was just, hey, media propaganda. It's like, look, when Occupy Wall Street came to Seattle, my buddy Ben went up there to deal with them. He and I and a couple of people we knew had come up with this idea, because Washington State has a couple of laws in it that, if they had all been utilized at once, would have been able to create the conditions these people were looking for. One of the things that we can do is a constitutional recall, which is to say, you can basically go out, if you can get, I want to say it's like 10 or 15% of the entire state's population to sign a petition stating that the state requires a constitutional recall. It means that all of the politicians in Washington have to come back and redesign the bloody constitution of the state and, choose which laws need to be written. It's, it's a nuclear option. It's actually written into our legislature. In addition to this, and this is the case in most states and most democracies, that people can actually call for a politician to step down. And again, you get enough people behind this, you could actually effectively wipe the slate clean. You could have re-elections for every position, from, your local chief of, library and chief of secretary at a city level, all the way up to governor. So if you were to combine both in one, you could completely re-elect everybody, and you could bring in a total set of grassroots individuals, people who have not been corrupted by the political system. And believe me, if people actually knew how much corruption there is in those systems, in those settings, they'd choke to death. I mean, everybody can talk and say, oh yeah, we know politicians are corrupt. It's like, sure. But if you knew the details, your heart would break. It's like some of the shit you have to do to get laws passed as an actual lawmaker is just ridiculous.
I can imagine. Oh, I can imagine half of it anyways.
There's a lot of you scratch my back, I scratch your back. There's a lot of collusion between individuals who, you'd never expect it. This whole, the Democrats and the Republicans and the independents and the libertarians are all at war. The war is a circus. There's a lot of truth in the statement that they fight on TV, but they all go drinking at the same place at night. Believe me, no matter how much shit you see McCain talking about local, big-time Democratic leadership in D.C., he is still, at the end of the day, dealing with those people when nobody else is actually looking. And that's how a lot of stuff gets done in D.C., and the Tea Party specifically has been very disruptive to that process. And, take it or leave it however you want. I don't really care to judge. It's nice to see, on occasion, there are people who just don't want to play ball, don't want to be part of the collusion. But on the same token, at this point, because of how the system is designed, it's very difficult to get things done if you're not down with that. So the only way to remove the corruption from the system and actually have the system still function is you have to replace everybody. And so that's what Ben did. Is, when Occupy Wall Street came to Seattle, we had 1,500 people up on Capitol